Welcome to the Lechtich Parsha podcast, where we delve into the Torah's timeless wisdom and uncover uplifting and empowering lessons tailored to the challenges of our generation.
A good Erev Shabbos, Parshas Peshalach. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a wonderful week. This week's shir is sponsored by Avram and Esther Datel of Brooklyn, New York. The Ili Nishmas, Sarah Bas Shmuel Zev, Aleh Shalom, May her Neshama have an Aliyah, may she be a Meretz Yesher for her entire Mishpacha. Thank you to our corporate sponsors, the Hassan Zaltz Law Firm, Bluestone Brokerage, and Meridian Senior Health. For future dedications, to sponsor a shir, to sponsor the publication, please reach out to 845-367-2959. You can use it as an opportunity, the Nishmas, for a schus, an honor, whatever you'd like, but definitely an opportunity of our Batzis Torah. So please feel free to reach out and look forward to accommodating you. We're in the middle of the Shovavim period. We're actually towards the end. And Shovavim, the shirish of the word is shav, lashav, to return, to do tshuva. And while the avodah of this time period obviously is not the same as Elul Yom Neroim, nevertheless Hashem grants us this period of time smack in the middle of the cold winter, where we can sometimes forget what we've done, where we're heading, what our aspirations are for the future. All those dreams and goals that we made back a few months ago sometimes fizzle out. We have this time to remind us, to recalibrate, and to tap back into those holy times of upliftedness, where we felt exalted, where we felt close. And during this time period, it's important to search, to find in the Parsha, the people, the instances, the episodes where we can reap to our benefit and remind ourselves of those truths, of where we really want to be, where we really want to go, and to always live on an exalted level, on a level of growth. We're always ascending the ladder of spirituality as opposed to reaching stagnance or chas v'shalom, declining. And in this week's parsha, it's very obvious there's someone tremendous to learn from, and that's the name of this week's parsha, Parshas Yisro. Yisro, the first ger post-Kabbalah Satira, to learn from him and the message he has to tell us. There's a famous vart said over about what was special about Yisro. The whole world heard about the Nisim, about Yitzias Mitzrayim, and about Kriyas Yamsuf. So what was different about this one individual? What was that unique attribute, the unique character trait? Mamash, a unicorn from the entire world. He was the only one that was warmed and inspired by the fire of Kedusha, of the Nisim, of the Gilui Kveit Shemayim. But how is he the only one? What was that Nekuda? What was that trait? What was that Midah that he had, that he possessed, that he transcended from everyone else in the world, and that he became the first ger after Kabbalah Satira? The answer is from the first word of the parsha, Vayishma. That not only did he hear, but he let it have an impression, an everlasting impression. And when the inspiration came, while all the other nations were Shama, Vayirgazu, they heard it and they panicked, but they moved right on. As opposed to Yisro, who was Vayishma Yisro, that he actually let it have an impression on his neshama, and he was actually moved, and he acted upon that inspiration, and he became the first ger after Kabbalah Satira. We see that Yisro was a mevakish, and that's why he was zeichet to be the father-in-law, the shver of Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's why there's a parsha named after him. So while this isn't exactly what we're going to talk about, but it's important to just start to realize that Yisro, he had this midah of bikush ha'emes, of pursuing, of mamish chasing the truth, which is what led him to such greatness, and why he was chosen to be the father-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu, a person who spoke peh peh with the Shechina. So having said that, let's go to another incredible thing that we find in this week's parsha about Yisro. When we're introduced to Yisro, we find something very interesting. We find the first time in Pasuk Aleph, the Pasuk says, Vayishma Yisro Kohen Midyan Chaysin Moshe. He's referred to by three titles, by Yisro, the Kohen Midyan, and Moshe Rabbeinu's father-in-law. Then we move on to one Pasuk later, and all of a sudden, he sheds one of his titles. The Pasuk says, Vayikach Yisro Chaysin Moshe Es Tzipora Eshes Moshe. And Yisro, Moshe's father-in-law, took Tzipora, etc. So we dropped the Kohen Midyan. Then we fast forward to Pasuk Yedal, 12 psukim later. And the Pasuk says, Vayar Chaysin Moshe Es Kol Asher Hu Oiseh La'am. The father-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu saw how much he had done for the people, referring to Moshe Rabbeinu when he was being shofet, when he was judging the nation. So in Pasuk Yedal, he's only referred to as Chaysin Moshe. He's not called the Kohen Midyan. He's not called Yisro. What's going on? What's with the titles that dropped along the way? I heard a beautiful pshat to explain this from my neighbor, Reb David Dolgan Shlita, who says as follows. He said, Yisro was on a spiritual odyssey. He was on the pursuit of ruchnius, of emes, and he was a mevakish. In the first pasuk, when he just heard the news, he was still a guy. He was still living in Midian. And the Torah introduces him with all three titles. He was Yisro, he was the Chayse Moshe, but he was also the Kohen Midian. It was still a pride, it was still a badge of honor for him that he was the priest of Midian. But as he got closer in the next pasuk already, when he already converted, when he was already miskayer to Yiddishkeit, he's already Yid, then the title of Kohen Midian, the priest of Midian, that no longer bears any significance, because now he's a Yid. So he's no longer associated with the guy and with Midian, so that title is dropped. He's no longer associated with that. Then when we go 12 psukim later, to Pasuk Yud Daled, he's only referred to, he's addressed as the Chayse Moshe, the father of Moshe Rabbeinu. He's not even referred to as Yisro. What's the pshat? The pshat is that when he saw Moshe Rabbeinu being shayfet the he saw Moshe Rabbeinu, the operation of judging Klal Yisrael. He saw the Torah, he saw the Shechina, he saw Hashem. Rashi tells us that when a person gives over judgment, is as if he's nasa shutefim HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the Bria Sa'olam. Yisro saw heilige Zachen, he saw unbelievable things. He saw such kedusha. He saw the hisyachtus, the oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of Kutcha Brichu. At that point, it was glaring, it was clear. The emes was so strong in front of him that there was nothing besides Einim Levada, there was nothing besides HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, the Torah is telling us, Vayar Yisro. Yisro didn't just see, he saw, and he let it permeate his nefesh, his neshama, his ruach. He let it uplift him and really change him, and transcend from the old Yisro to a new Metzias, to a new person. And who was that? It was the Chayse Moshe. His only identification, his only badge of honor, his only glory, the only thing he really cared about now, was the fact that he was Chayse Moshe, that he was associated with the Torah, that he was associated, he had a shaykhis, a connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with Hashem, with the Shechina, with Moshe, and that was it. And even his own name, Yisro, that he had for all of the years until now, immediately was dropped. One could think that this sounds intense. It's like sometimes we have this feeling when we see the Yisros in our life, whether they're Geirim or Bali Tshuva, and sometimes they like to progress quickly, and we say, relax, chill out, what are you going so fast? Like, you just turned the corner. Take it slow. Don't start jumping rungs on the ladder. That's not what happened with Yisro. It wasn't that Yisro got some major inspiration, his Cyrus boost, and all of a sudden he put the jetpack on and he was in this whole new sphere of holiness and everyone had to slow him down. That's not what happened. The pshat is he saw the revelation of emes. He saw Kutcha Brichu. He saw the oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And because he was such a mevakish, because of that midah of bikush emes, of pursuing the desire of truth, and he was willing to become humbled and changed from that. Therefore, the name got dropped by itself. It wasn't something he had to consciously do. It was subconscious. It was through his re'iyah, as the pasuk says, Vayar Yisro, Chayse Moshe. The Torah attests to this special re'iyah, to this special gaze, to this special X-ray vision into Kedusha that he had. That he was zeiche to see perhaps what other Yidden weren't able to see. He was able to see the shutfus of the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and because of that, the name, by default, was no longer associated with Yisro. The story is told over of a man who came to visit the Brisker Rav. Brisker Rav opened his door, they sat down, the Brisker Rav said, Shalom Aleichem, and he said, what are you? And this man said, I'm a businessman. And the Brisker Rav said, what are you? And again, the man said, I'm a businessman. And a third time, the Brisker Rav calmly said, no, what truly are you? And the man, after 3 times being asked the same question, got flustered. And he screamed, I'm a businessman. And the Brisker Rav said, Mantaira Yid, you can stop shouting. I heard you the first 2 times. I heard you the 3rd time. Brisker Rav told him, you're not understanding. You're not answering the question correctly. He said, when the sailors asked Yoina Hanavi, Ma mlachtecha, what is your work? Yoina answered them, Ivri Anochi, Ves Hashem lekecha aniyore. I am a Jew, and I fear Hashem, the God of the heavens. Said the Brisker Rav, the proper, correct answer that you should answer anyone who asks you, what are you? What do you do? The answer is Ivri Anochi. I'm a Yid, you're a Yid. You happen to do business also, but that's not your identity. That's not who you are. One of the many messages and lessons we can learn from Yisro is what he defined, what he valued as a true badge of honor. And as he matured in his ruchnius, as he accomplished and achieved more on his pursuit of emes, his old badges of honor shedded. He used to be the Kohen Midian, but then that dropped. He used to think it was chashav to be Yisro, with his accomplishments, with avodah zaras, with whatever money, fame, glory he had, and that faded. And finally, he was only left with the fact that he was the Chais and Moshe, that he was the Shver of the Gadol Adar, of the greatest Navi, the Kom B'Yisrael Kom Moshe Oid, of the greatest person that ever walked the face of the earth. The Bris Grov told this businessman, "You're not a businessman. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care if you have a Rolex on your arm. I don't care how prestigious. I don't care if you're a CEO, president, founder. Machnish Ois, it makes no difference. Ivri, Anochi, Ivri Ata, you're a Yid, I'm a Yid, and that's all that matters. And what's going to take us in the next world, what's going to be our ticket to Olam Haba, is not going to be any of these badges of honor which are valued over here, but it's only going to be how committed were you to being an Ivri Anochi? How committed were you to keeping your mind on the end game, on Nitzchias, on Olam Haba? As we began with Shoivavim, it's about being Shav. We're not blowing shofar, we're not wearing a kittel, we're not going through Ne'ilah now, but we can just do a little contemplation. And when we're reading the parsha of Yisro, we can remind ourselves that this was a person who was a mevakish. This was a person who strived, who yearned for the truth. And for us too, we can do that a little bit as well. We can yearn, we can be mevakish, we can pursue more. And no matter the titles, the degrees, whatever it is that we have, the side is to remember what we really are, which is Ivri Anochi. We're God-fearing Jews. While the titles, the degrees, the accomplishments, contacts, fame, they all sound glorious, we all know and we all recognize their temporary nature. And the only authentic title to take pride in, as you saw from Yoino, is Ivri Anochi. I am a Jew, I am proud. And whether we are lawyers, doctors, or rabbanim, rabbis, or yeshivas, whatever it may be, but the truth remains the truth, that we all are Ivri Anochi, proud God-fearing Jews. May we all be able to access the midah of Yisro within each and every one of us, the innate midah of Bikush HaEmes, of doing Ratzon Hashem, and with the increase of more Torah, more mitzvahs, more drive, a collective drive to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, may Hashem, in turn, gather us all together with the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu b'meher v'meinu. Amen. I thank each and every one of you for listening. I wish you all a wonderful Shabbos.
I thank each and every one of you for listening. I hope you enjoyed and I wish you a wonderful Shabbos.